Good evening. Happy and Merry Christmas Eve. I will be reading a fitting prayer to you this evening. Friends, be it this Christmas Eve our care and delight to prepare ourselves to hear again the message of our angels. In heart and mind, to place ourselves on Magic Mountain and see this thing which is come to pass, a babe lying in a manger. Let us read and mark from wisdom of old the tale of the loving purposes of a power beyond our understanding, working from the first days of our brokenness unto the glorious redemption we discover in this new birth. And let us make this chapel, made holy by those who have trod this road before us, glad with our carols of praise. But first, let us pray for the needs of our world, for peace and health over all the earth, for unity and goodwill within the institutions of our day, formed with good intent, but in so many ways lost and foundering. Let us also, at this time, remember the poor and the helpless, the cold and the hungry, the abused, the exploited, and the oppressed, the sick in body and in mind, and them that mourn, the isolated, the lonely, and the unloved, the elderly, and the children, all who know not the comfort and shelter of a community of faith and love in which to abide. Lastly, let us remember before God all those who rejoice with us, but upon another shore and in a greater light, that multitude which none can number, whose hope was in eternity, and with whom, by faith, we forevermore are one. These praises and prayers let us humbly offer up to the throne of heaven, adding the simple prayer that has become so central to the recovery tradition. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference. May a higher power bless us with grace and mercy in this and all our days. Amen.
So for those of you who are on the YouTube audience, that was Chandola Tillman. She has been a spiritual care intern with us this fall, and I introduced her before we turned on the video, but she's done a magnificent job, and you can tell she's a great reader, and thank you so much for that. It was a beautiful opening prayer for us. We have a piece of music as part of our Lessons in Carols format for the evening. And my dear friend and our chapel music coordinator, Marty Mellinger, is going to accompany on the piano. Here we go. I have come from so far away, down the road of my own mistakes, in the hope you could hear me pray. Oh Lord, keep me in your reach. How I've longed through these wasted years to outrun all the pain and fear, turn to stone all my uncried tears, and now it's your grace I see. It's a gift, it's a sacrifice, my soul renewed, and my heart released. In you I'll find my peace. Wondrous child, of whom the angels sing, know my joy, feel my suffering, shining star, make this love you bring so bright that I may believe that my way will not be lost from now on, till that river's crossed, my soul renewed, and my spirit free. In you I'll find my peace. In you I'll find my peace. Thank you, and acknowledgement to Michael McDonald for that beautiful song that he wrote, and grateful to be able to sing it with you tonight. I've been thinking all week about what to talk about, and I wanted to tell you all a story that goes back some years. I was privileged to begin my sobriety in 1989. I began my sobriety as an atheist. People are surprised to hear that when they see me decked up like this. But it's true. I came to a feeling of faith in a congregation in southern Delaware that was very meaningful for me. And I remember attending Advent and Christmas services there in my second year of sobriety, and it being profoundly different for me to overlay that season of the year with the stories that attend this tradition in this time. And so, peculiarly, as the road unfolds in front of us, eventually I would be appointed as the pastor of that particular congregation, which was an amazing privilege and honor. And so I served in the church where I'd been a layperson, and then I looked tremendously forward, because if you get to be a pastor in the Christian tradition in a non-COVID year, one of the very special moments is the late night Christmas Eve service, if you have one, where typically in these old buildings, which the fire marshals would not be happy about, you give everybody a candle and you turn the lights down and you sing Silent Night, holding the candles aloft, and there's a way that works. So I studied liturgy, I'm very interested in it, and there are 4 Sundays that precede the Christmas Sunday that are counted as the 4 Sundays of Advent. And while Walmart and everything else in our culture puts out Christmas now in August, technically, if you have a very attendant pastor to the traditions, you might be frustrated with your pastor because there's no Christmas trees or anything in Advent, because Christmas doesn't come in the church until tonight. And they might put up like blue paraments, the claws that go on the thing, and you're like, it should be green and red. And they're like, no, the pastor would say, no, it's supposed to be blue because it's Advent. Advent is a penitent season like Lent before Easter. But one of the other traditions that happens that is these accretions on top of the core traditions of communion and baptism, which are the heart of the sacramental life of these traditions. So you have these festival seasons like Christmas and Easter that paste themselves on to people's observance over centuries. And one of them is the thing called the Advent wreath. I don't know if you know what that is. So like many kids have Advent calendars and the day at a time, whatever. So the Advent wreath usually has 5 candles, or you may think of it only having 4. Typical ones that you see are often 3 blue and 1 rose candle, or 3 purple and 1 rose candle. And there's a whole story about why the 1 rose. The 1 rose candle is for the 3rd Sunday of Advent, which is Gaudete Sunday, which means Rejoicing Sunday. Advent was once a tough enough season. I was going to joke and say people had to wear masks and couldn't be close to each other. But anyway, no, there were special dieting restrictions and those kinds of things. And so I think out of a sense of compassion, on the 3rd Sunday, they would have this Rejoicing Sunday. They would finally get joyful, because I guess congregations got tired of waiting for Christmas. So the 3rd Sunday of the pink candle, you had like, woo, little like preview celebration, and then we're back to misery for Sunday number 4. And the other thing about Advent, if you understand how it really works, my dear professor, Lawrence Suki, who I love so much, and I just happened to get a card that came from the seminary where he taught me, and they had Larry's window. He made a stained glass window, just beautiful, and they used it for the Christmas card this year. He just died a couple years ago. And so sitting on my table in Sinking Spring here in Pennsylvania, I have this card with this beautiful stained glass window. I was thinking about Larry. Anyway, Larry said the church gets it wrong when it counts Advent Sundays as 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th Sunday of Advent. He said we should do it as a countdown. 4, 3, 2, 1. That what's called the 1st Sunday of Advent should be the 4th Sunday before Christmas. What we call the 2nd Sunday of Advent should be the 3rd Sunday before Christmas. Then what's the 3rd Sunday of Advent should be the 2nd Sunday before Christmas, and so on. So we get like building up this hype. Okay, so that's a little bit of teaching around how the tradition works, but that's to tell you the story. So I get to be the pastor of this congregation in which I had come to be a part of that faith movement, and we had an amazing team of creative people who helped us do the liturgical decor, and I was teaching them all about this tradition, and this guy, Murray, wonderful man, so creative and brilliant and beautiful fellow, and Murray came up with this idea that this year, in addition to having the traditional 4 candles of the Advent wreath, which would be our countdown candles, 4, 3, 2, 1, we would make a central candle to go in the middle of the wreath, which we would light on Christmas Eve. And that's part of the tradition. You light the Christ candle of the congregation for that year on Christmas Eve. And then that's the candle that you also burn at Easter. And it's a lovely thing. Anyway, and Murray had this idea that what we would do is we would have a volunteer participation drive where we invite people in the congregation to bring white, used, unscented candles together and throw them in like bins, like you would collect food for a giveaway or whatever. And then we'd melt them all down and make one big honking community candle. So that's what we did. We made this massive community candle from the melted, tired, dead candles of the congregation. And on December 24th of some year, it might have been 2003 or 4 or 5 or 6 or something like that, because I was there for a number of years, we were waiting. We were all waiting. We couldn't wait to light this puppy. It had 3 wicks in it, you know, like you do with these very, very large candles. And it was tall and proud and beautiful, except that we all knew it was sort of sooty and used and tired, but suddenly it had like a fresh coat of paint on it. And so Christmas Eve night came, and it was my job to light that candle that night, and then take a candle from that light and take it out to the community. And I would take it to the first person in the community, and then the second, and then they would pass it around. And all of a sudden, like at a concert where everybody's showing their cell phones, like the entire room is lit up with light. And it's the light that came from the broken, dead candles in people's homes. So in the year 2020, many difficult things have occurred, but one of the difficult things that has occurred is a pandemic. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. But as a result, in the middle of March, the Caron Chapel service had a very difficult decision to make, because I was essentially told by the Board of Health and by the leadership of the organization we could no longer distribute bread and cup with communion. So that was a really tricky one for me, because I was reared in the Catholic tradition, and for me that sacrament is really, I have a high bar of meaning for it. And it's essential to me in a certain sense for what we do here, especially because many of the people who come to this place, the Caron patient community, are alienated and broken like I was. I had run away from faith and said, I don't believe anything about this. It's like, you know, I don't believe in Santa Claus, and I don't believe in the Jesus story. You know, like, I'm not going there. And I had been wooed back by Alcoholics Anonymous and by this lovely congregation which I was privileged to serve. So anyway, in 2020, in March, I was essentially told, no more bread and cup. And I had this question, is there a way to continue to do communion? And what I started to do, which we've been doing now successfully for 9 months, is every Sunday, we've changed the idea, but continued the practice, and asked you to think of yourselves as the communion elements. That you are the bread, you are the cup, you are the candle. That's my point tonight. I was walking over here with Brooke, who the folks who are in the room are going to get to hear sing. I'm sorry, on YouTube you're not going to get to hear patient singing, because we're going to protect her HIPAA privacy. And she asked me what was the theme tonight, and I said, new birth. And it's the birth of a baby, yes. But don't take the wrong. I'm thinking of you all as the babies. Like your recovery is like this nascent new beginning. I didn't realize that in January of 1989 when I began my recovery journey. If somebody told me I was a baby, I would have told them to like go to hell and like shut up, and I would have been offended. So if you're offended, I sincerely apologize. But I didn't realize I was beginning to like have a whole new life. It was a whole new beginning, and the people should have been tremendously excited. I think there were people who were excited that I was like not drinking 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, you know. But none of us knew that my sobriety would persist, and that I would change my career and rediscover a childhood calling and have a chance to be here tonight with you. And have you be my broken candles coming back to life. I hope that's meaningful for you, because it's deeply meaningful to me. And when at the end of the service, I can't light fire and candles in here either, I'm not allowed to do that. But we're going to turn the lights down a little bit low, and we're going to sing Silent Night. I hope you realize we kind of all throw ourselves in as a broken pool, and we become something beautiful. You are that to me. I'm really grateful to have a chance to be with you tonight.